Welcome to Voice Notes Suck with Jay and Dave.
Series 1, Episode 6, Streaming. In this episode, we chat about All Hail Hyena's impressive 750,000 listens and 40 million views, and explore the broad rewards of streaming across various platforms like YouTube, Twitch and TikTok. We'll talk about the importance of avatars, sticking to your values and pushing your comfort zone. Learn the difference between broadcasts and streams, the risks and benefits of streaming, and the impact of online exhibitionism. Plus, we'll cover the chase for attention, protecting children from inappropriate content, the potential decline in teenage streamers, and loads more.
Dave, you beautiful man. I want to talk about streaming. A, because my band All Hail Hyena, as of this recording to you, have reached 750,000 streams on Spotify. Now, we're unsigned. We're from Burnley. I think that's a massive, major milestone. We've got all them streams. We're on Amazon Prime Direct. We're streaming on there. We're on Spotify. We do all our own distribution, marketing, everything. It's crazy to think that we've just been chipping away over these last 8 years and reached 750,000 streams. It's thanks to a viral video of us playing in the garden for our number one fan, which has had over 40 million views across all our socials. Dave, streaming can make you feel good, but what are the rewards?
I mean, the reward is feeling good, right? The reward is 750,000 views or listens of your song. Streaming's an interesting one because I always, my mind automatically goes to something like Twitch, where you're streaming a game that you're playing, or you're streaming yourself over the internet whilst you're doing something. It's getting my head round, streaming songs like Spotify as a streaming avenue is interesting, and the benefits are different depending what type of streaming you're doing. I also guess that you need to be conscious of, if you're doing live streaming like Twitch, you need to be conscious of how you're presenting yourself, whereas if you're putting a song on something like Spotify to be streamed, then you know what that song's going to sound like. It's interesting.
Well, we really love live streaming. We love doing sort of sessions and stuff. And we recorded a session in a church, Cathedral of Cubs it's called. Did it all ourselves, set up loads of cameras, and then we filmed it, edited it, and then we streamed it live on a platform called Show For Me, where people bought tickets and they watched it. To be honest with you, the stream wasn't amazing, it was glitchy. So we ended up giving the stream to the people that had bought tickets. We sent them a YouTube link and stuff. But now it's on Amazon Prime Direct, streaming on there. But I know what you mean in regards to Twitch and even TikTok. I mean, I love TikTok. I love doing lives on TikTok. That is a popular session. I've met a lot of fans on there doing that. Have you ever done TikTok?
No, I'm not a massive TikTok user. We built an account with Crypto Goons. I think Chris still uses it occasionally, but I don't really. I think my actual TikTok account got reset randomly. I've done a TikTok or an Instagram live thing with a video camera on, and I don't know. It wasn't for me. It's not something that I massively enjoy. I guess X Spaces is kind of like live streaming, but without the video camera. Although saying that, if you're definitely for Apple users, and I don't know if you've got to be a subscriber to X or not, but you can go live and you can stream live on X now as well. It's just not really my thing. I don't know. I'm not certain. Maybe I should have a play. I don't know, Jay.
Have you ever thought about having an avatar instead?
I have thought of it, and I don't like the idea. I don't feel it falls in line with my online persona that I've created, which is as close to me as I can possibly make it without causing offence.
Yeah, I understand that, dude. I think it's really important to stick to what's working more than anything. Stick to your values, stick to what's working, stick to what you feel most comfortable with. It's okay though, I think, like with streaming, I think it's okay to push yourself out of your comfort zone sometimes. And I think you do that with your spaces. I think that when you're hosting a space and you're talking and you've got really no plan, that's when it really levels you up as a person. And you know, you've grown and developed so much over these last couple of years. It's pretty phenomenal, to be quite honest. And I think the more you do something, the more you improve and the better you get and the smoother it becomes. Not always, but that's life. Life's full of weird little quirks and stumbling blocks and mistakes, but that's how we learn, isn't it? You know. Do you ever think you'll speak on a big stage, but streaming live?
Well, thank you. What a lovely endorsement and fantastic words, and I appreciate them greatly. Spaces is kind of like live streaming, I guess, and I've learned a huge amount from it, and there's very, very little prepped when I host spaces. I want it to be an open floor. I want it to be an expression of ideas. I want people to be introduced to new ideas, and I want people to be comfortable talking through how they feel about a situation. I think one of the ways we learn is by being open to different ideas. Define a big stage, Jay. Define a big stage, because I've spoken to a lot of people on a stage in a corporate setting. I've done training in front of a lot of people. I've presented to high up members of a corporation. So I think the definition is important there. But yes, the answer is yes, and it doesn't matter if it's 20, 50, 100, 1,000, 10,000. The answer is yes, I'd be comfortable getting up there and talking. I'd be nervous, but I'd be comfortable.
Yeah, I'm talking like a TEDx. Would you do that?
Yes, I would, and I'd look forward to it, and I'd be nervous, but I'd enjoy it.
You see, if you ended up doing a TEDx talk or a TED talk, then that'd end up streaming.
Yeah, or being filmed and then being broadcast. It's funny, isn't it, how we've changed terminology? And is it because something's live? Was a live broadcast always a stream? Was a recorded broadcast always a stream? Now, these definitions are interchangeable. I've gone on a little tangent. How do you think about that? I don't think we've done that. Maybe we should define what streaming is.
So I did a cheeky little Google search to find the difference between broadcasting and streaming. Live broadcasting is different to streaming because it doesn't involve any live interaction from the audience, like comments, likes, shares, etc. So that's the difference between broadcasting and streaming. Streaming has a more interactive element, which is probably why it's a lot more popular. Broadcasting is likely actually to be a bit more difficult to engage people potentially, or at least judge engagement. What do you reckon?
It makes a lot of sense. I know there are problems with broadcast TV, and I know there are advertisers aren't enjoying broadcast TV, and that's because viewing numbers are down. I wonder if our changing lifestyles is also having an impact on that. And it's strange because streaming, like you said, you stream songs, like they're not played in the moment, they're not listened to in the moment, but it's still known as streaming. It's an interesting one. I definitely think the live aspect, like you said, that makes a lot of sense, and that being a key difference. I guess it's just funny how we use words and what we mean when we use words as well. Just different people will say streaming and mean different things.
No, I think the streaming music thing is because you can interact with it, you can like it, you can add it to a playlist, you can share it. You can't do that with a broadcast, really, can you?
That basically to me means that the internet is the difference. That's the difference. It's stream means that you get to watch it at the viewer's choice of time, and you can potentially interact with it. Whereas a broadcast means that it's put out there at a given time.
Yeah. Basically, this is our programme. You will watch it or you won't. It tells you when we're playing it. It's in a magazine called TV Times, and you can also find out when it is on CFAX.
CFAX or teletext. There's a blast from the past. What I was getting to, and I don't think I got round to saying it in that last voice note, was that I've distracted myself. What was I saying? Oh, I was trying to get round to the point that TV broadcasts now are also widely available on streaming platforms. So even network TV is kind of streamed now, and all of the sort of TV shows have got their own social media channels where you can stream their content.
I think broadcasting is one way and streaming is two ways, innit? That's the conclusion we've reached, isn't it?
Yeah, sounds about right to me. So are we going to have to listen back to find out why we went down this tangent, or do we just move on to talking about something else around streaming?
We could talk about tears streaming down our faces.
Now I'm wondering if we should have covered that in the last episode, which was digital personas.
What, digital tears? I was thinking about streaming, like, it's big business. Like, literally most of the platforms give their facility to stream. Like, TikTok is filled with people just streaming themselves doing nothing, literally providing no value whatsoever apart from just sitting there hoping people come in and then just chatting. And you look at things like so I use Streamlabs to do my streaming, which is going to come back soon, but I use Streamlabs, and I've got a hardware device with loads of buttons on it to switch between the scenes called a Stream Deck. And then you've got Twitch streamers who are making a living streaming themselves gaming. It is huge.
And then we've seen the uptake of NPC streaming, where people respond based on external interactions, but those responses are set. I mean, what are the risks with that? Most streaming is people focused on you as the streamer. Like, you're in control, you decide who comes on, you decide what happens on that stream. That's most streaming. Is there a risk? Is the main risk that you get kind of caught in your own echo chamber from a digital community perspective, that you end up encouraging your digital community in the wrong way off of the back of that stream that then impacts you as the creator in a negative way? Is that too broad a risk to discuss, or does it need to be focused and narrowed down?
I think people are always going to make their own choices. I mean, there's a good example of weird streaming, specifically on TikTok, is some people will be asleep and there'll be like a board up and it'll say, gift me this item to and then to try and wake me up, basically. And the different sort of amounts that the gifts cost that people send determines what sounds are triggered to try and wake the person up. And there's like a lot of it is Japanese, which is, don't know why, but the Japanese seem to be fascinated with that kind of being controlled kind of vibe, it would seem. And some of them are where, they'll be working and you're trying to disturb the working by sending gifts and then making these really loud noises happen and stuff. It's a very clever way of making money, actually.
There's so many of these things that I find fascinating from a people perspective. This is almost an impossible question to quantify. I understand that. But how much of this do you think is about the chase for money? And how much of this do you think is about the chase for validation? For the want to have attention paid to you? I think that's an interesting question to think about.
I think attention is currency, isn't it, in streaming? That's what people want. They want attention and retention. The money aspect of it, I know some people probably go in there with that at the forefront of the mind, but it might not necessarily be the main goal. Maybe the main goal is just attention. It's just all about exhibitionism and voyeurism at the end of the day, isn't it?
Well, that leads my brain down the path of, is that any internet activity that's focused on yourself? That it's all for exhibition and voyeurism, whether you're trying to create a brand or sell a business, or sell things as a business, or maybe even sell a business. Is it all exhibitionism and voyeurism if you break it down? I think there's certainly reasons, and I think you could validate or find a lot of validation for those reasons if you wanted to make that argument. But I think it is more than that, personally. Interesting. Yeah, you've got me thinking now.
I mean, when you talk about that, selling things, I mean, if you look at adult streaming, people are essentially selling themselves, aren't they? You know, it's important to make sure that children are protected from that, because it's very accessible, it's very simple to access, and we don't want children even stumbling across adult streaming sites, really, because they can be very overt, very explicit from the off. There's no real kind of warning, and again, that's like one of the perils of streaming, I suppose, is when people are, you know, performing acts like that online. You don't want your children coming across that or accessing that, and unfortunately it requires some serious parental control there.
That's it, isn't it? Outside of parental control and guidance and encouraging exploration in the right way at the right ages, how do you look after young people's safety online? Should it be up to governments? Like, I know when there's a duty of care when they're at school and stuff like that, should it be up to like mobile phone providers? And what precautions should be brought in? I know there are a lot of things, there are a lot of parental support systems on the internet and on phone networks in the UK, but I've got no idea what they're like on a more global basis. It's an interesting one, and we've definitely got to protect our young people and make sure that they're looked after and they're not introduced to subjects they shouldn't be introduced to until they're of an appropriate age.
Yeah, I mean, some mobile providers do have controls in place where it blocks explicit adult content just by default, and you have to get it unlocked. So if you have a device for your child that is like that initially, then you're okay. You know, there is software you can install to prevent access to that kind of stuff, and if you're responsible enough, you will install that. However, I think the best way to teach children how to navigate the internet and stuff is to educate them. I don't feel like locking things down without explaining the perils and dangers and stuff is actually the best way. We need more education on it. Schools need to be more, educating kids more. Government need to be putting out more campaigns. Society itself needs to just educate about it better. Give kids some responsibility.
Yeah, as a parent, there's always that balance, isn't there, between, I know I'm not a parent, but that balance between protecting their innocence and letting them be a child and keeping them safe and explaining things to them. Like, it's a tricky balance, and the digital age has only made it trickier, I feel. So, yeah, and the ramifications are potentially quite big. Again, it's about education. It's about educating parents and then educating young people as well through school and everything else. Very, very good point. It's about the education and as much support for that education as possible.
Something I have noticed quite interestingly with the younger generation, young kids and teenagers and stuff, is not that many of them are streaming. You saw a bit of an influx not too long ago. Like you see a lot of the streamers now, gamers and things like that, who are probably like early 20s or something, who started streaming when they were teenagers. But now you don't seem to see teenagers streaming that much, and I find that very, very interesting, because it kind of shows me that there's something else on the horizon that's next level streaming. I don't know what it is yet. I've not seen it yet. I can't spot it yet, but I'm definitely looking. I'm definitely curious as to what it is they're doing. A lot of it seems to be like memes and stuff, which is interesting.
Now, memes would suggest to me that they're looking for ways to express in general. That's interesting. It's really interesting. And does that come down to sort of popularity? And does that come down to things like Mr. Beast's success a few years ago? Or does that just come down to younger people maybe understanding a little bit more about themselves? I don't know.
I don't know. Mr. Beast is quite an extreme example of a streamer. A lot of things he does feel unattainable. They're not. They're perfectly attainable. If you want to get to Mr. Beast level, you can get to Mr. Beast level. You've just got to keep putting content out. You just got to keep going. You just got to keep streaming. I just don't think that they can be bothered, or they feel like it's just not worth it. I'm interested to know. I keep saying interested. I need to find a different word. I need to find a more interesting word. What's a more interesting word than interested?
Intrigue or intrigued or intriguing. That's the first one that comes to mind as an alternative to interested or interesting. I use Mr. Beast as an example because he saw massive success and he drove a lot of interest into that, what's the right word for it, into that category of internet content, to that format. And that was the only reason I used him as an example. I don't know many streamers. It's not something that I've followed massively. Like the biggest known streamers, the biggest known streamers that I know. Aside from that, they're people that I've met in the Web3 crypto and NFT industry. We're getting to the end, Jay. We've already got through 20 minutes of chatter about streaming. Is there anything else that you want to say before I give this one a little summary?
I want to say, what about the stream of consciousness, man?
Well, I guess that leaves me nothing left to do but to try and summarise this episode, whatever we're doing. Voice notes suck. Talking about streaming. I'm going to go listen back to what we've said and then I'm going to drop a little summary in here.
Excellent work, Dave. You do that. I will wait with bated breath. Have we done it yet? Oh, well, that were fun, weren't it? You tricked me. It's me who's got to summarise streaming. Here we go. All Hail Hyena, 750,000 listens and 40 million views across social media. Streaming rewards can be broad. There are different types of streaming: live, music, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Spaces. Avatars could work, but they need to complement your persona. Stick to your values. Push your comfort zone. Explore new ideas with others. Dave would do a TED Talk on a big stage. Go, Dave. There's a difference between a broadcast and a stream. Broadcasts are one-way, streams are interactive. Advertisers are moving away from broadcasters. The internet is pivotal in the evolution of end-user experience. A lot of streaming live videos have no content value. Streaming comes with risks to both the creator and the user. We have a risk of encouraging the community in a negative way. We're in an age of
of online exhibitionism and voyeurism in real time. There's a chase for money and a chase for validation. Attention is currency. Adult streaming is huge, easily accessible, and we need to protect children from it. Should there be more support and education to protect children from inappropriate content online? Is there a decline in teenagers streaming their own content? Could Mr. Beast spell the end for new streamers? I've been Jay. Dave's been Dave. See you next time. You've been listening to Voice Notes Suck with Jay and Dave.